What's going on, guys? Big welcome to you all to our channel. On the first glance, you would be like, D-Boy, are you doing a Dolls deck profile for us? No, not yet. But we will do one from the team. But it will be a Blazing Paladins deck. For me, I am actually doing a Viamance deck profile for you guys. It's a deck that I play for fun. And I think it does have lots of potential. But for now, I think the stronger deck is still Unrivaled Bruce. But with the upcoming sets, Divine Set 2, we will have some new cards that have some Divine skills that could target some Vanguard and that could kind of delete them. And with that, you will lose the skill of your Vanguard, which means that when you start your turn, if you're playing Violence Bruce or Unrivaled Bruce, you will not have that Final Rush. So maybe we will have to go back to VMN Bruce if Brett Meyer became more and more played. Of course, knowing me, I will think about something that could play against that deck. But for now, and for the sake of this video, we will still focus a little bit about VMN Bruce. So, if you're new to the channel, welcome. We are Team Crushing the Meta. My name is D-Boy and I specialize in Spike Brothers and Bruce. So, one of the decks that we got introduced is VMN Bruce. I didn't really give this deck too much attention because I still think that the Unrivaled Bruce is way better. It's also more defensively now with the introduction of some new cards like the promo that helped you to ride to grade 4. Became the deck more consistent and more defensively good. You have your dragons, you have different cards that are added to the deck that actually make the deck very strong defensively. Even stronger than this one, while this deck is supposed to be defensively better. Alright, so VMN Bruce. The good thing about this deck is that with the introduction of Gino, the deck became an easier 5 attack deck, but still short in comparison to the Unrivaled Bruce. The only good thing about this deck is if you go second, the deck could go right away, and if you go first, there are still some benefits that you could get from the deck. Alright, let's go through the deck. I will first show you the deck as it is, and I will still call this first draft. So this is the basic on how the deck, how it should look like. And after that, we will zoom in on which cards you could take out and put in and to make the deck more and more into your liking. So let's start with the right deck. This is your right deck. Pretty much you will have to play math because VMN Bruce require you to have Diabolos cards on your field, and sometimes you could call stuff from your soul. So you would rather have something like a math that pretty much is a Diabolos and could boost for 6k. Other from that, it's your starter. He gets you to draw the extra card and comes out of your soul to say hello when you ride into Steve. Steve's skill pretty much give you the extra soul charge, give you a good booster on the first attack, so the 15k is not enough, and give you the soul charge. And then you go to Richard, which then your power will go back to just being the 10k. But sometimes if you do not play against a deck that could retire from your field or something, then you could have Richard be boosted by Stephanie, which will make your Bruce later on strong as well. Then you have your VMN Bruce. VMN Bruce basically is the newest Bruce. He has the ability to give Final Rush, but also to give Final Burst if your opponent's already on grade 3. The differences between this Bruce and the other Bruce is that the other Bruces, as in Violence and Unrivaled, both of them give you the Final Rush ability at the start of the ride phase, which means that the turn you ride into them, you don't have it, but you could get it from the Bruce before if you ride a Bruce on top of a Bruce. But this one gets the Final Rush or the Final Burst or both. They get it at the start of the battle phase as long as you have all Diabolos on the field. When he attacks, you count +1. If you are on Final Burst, you choose a column, you stand it, and you give the Diabolos' unit in that column an extra +5. So that is pretty much it. There is a lot of downsides to this Bruce, but there is also some benefits. The benefit is that him getting the Final Rush at the start of your battle phase make him better against a certain cards that will come out. But what makes him less good is the same ability, that he will not have Final Rush nor Final Burst in your main phase, which makes a lot of cards from the Diabolos deck ineffective that you could activate in the main phase, including all of your orders. So yeah, if you ask me, I will always say that the Unrivaled is the better Bruce, but this one also could be better in certain situations. Alright, now of course you also play this in your right deck. Don't forget that, otherwise people could be angry. For the other grade 3s, of course, we play 3 more copies of Bruce. So we play all the 4 different Bruces, as this one of course will have the star thingy logo, Dark State on it. We also play these. The FFR, the DSR, and the normal version of the other one. The thing about Bruce is, of course, you would love your persona, right? And that's the reason why you play the 3 other Bruces. There is no other explanation. Now it comes to the Regalia piece. There is a lot of different options that you could play in this deck. You want to go defensively, you could do this. You want to... I think this one is not really that effective in this deck because you don't play any other grade 3s or any grade 4s that you want to add to your hand. But this one as well, you would not play any of these. But there is something else that you could play, which is of course Chalice. Chalice is pretty good in this deck because the persona right actually makes it a bit different. It gets you the extra card, but not only that, the power that you get in your front row makes it different as in you attack 5 times. But you could also argue with me on playing another one, the one that we also play in our Unrivaled deck, Bruce deck. There are a lot of cards like the higher rarities are in here and then a little bit lower rarities are in the other one. Or sometimes just the base rarities, as you see I don't play the deck that much. So this is also another option. You'll be choosing one of these. If you say that you're playing in the meta where Nubatama still, Shiranui is still doing very well, and you're playing in the meta where there are a lot of decks that could retire stuff on your field, then this pretty much makes a huge difference in this deck. Because it does go to the soul, and you want soul in this deck, that's one. You do give your Vanguard extra 5k, which is fine, thank you. And most importantly, it will guard your rare cards. And with that, it means that you have certain rare cards that are good defensively. And that does make a difference if your opponent could not get rid of them, at least for that turn. So you could argue in which Regalia piece is the better one. I will leave it up to you guys, so I will not choose. And I will do this in a lot of cards in this deck. So that's why I call it first draft. If I would have to choose one right now in this current meta, I would still go for Anger Raider. Because Angel Ladder is just better in the fact that it goes to soul, and the fact that draw you a card, and the fact that your opponent cannot target your rare cards. But the card that fits the deck the most is of course Chalice. But it could be different from the one meta to the other. Alright, so then we go to the grade 2s. You grade 2s, you actually have a lot of good grade 2s. One of them is the new Gino. Another one is Jamil. And then we have Eden, and then we have Leonard. So these are basically the grade 2s that you would use the most. You also have Patrick, which is a nice addition to the deck. But the thing about Patrick is if I am not forgetting, he does use Soul. Let me see. Yeah, Patrick does use Soul, and Patrick's skill is just strange. He has a little bit of a field control, as in you could target your opponent Regars and put them on the Guardian Circle, so that's actually quite good. But on the other hand, they're still not losing much, as in they are basically guarding with those cards. So I did chest him like fun wise, or if you play the deck like just for fun and with friends, then it's fine. But if you want to play the deck a little bit competitively, then you would take him out. The card that you put back in is Leonard. Let it work with Final Rush, so his skill will be active the first turn. It doesn't matter if your opponent's already on grade 3 or not. And the fact that he fills the soul is good. The fact that he could attack a whole column is amazing. So he would be the one that pretty much gets rid of your opponent's field, because he could attack twice and he could just get rid of both sides. He still get the 5k attackingly. Calling something from your soul would not work because you don't have Viamance Bruce. You have a Viamance Bruce. So that's for him. For Jamila, it's a different story. It's a good attacking unit and a defensive unit, as he gets 10k attacking, but he also gets 5k defensively. And that activates if you are in Final Burst. But you are in Final Rush and Final Burst even during your opponent's turn, because that's the skill of the VMN Bruce. Then the second ability is a counterblast 1. You soul charge 1. It's good. You only want to soul charge in this deck. You don't want to soul blast, because this is your most soul blaster. So you soul charge 1, and then you choose up to 1 grade 3 or lower card, normal card from your soul, and with Diabolos and Scar Diamond, you call it to Vanguard Circle. So this is the card that actually could give you your pluses back if you could not make any. And there are other cards that could do the same thing. Like, for an example, if we're talking about grade 3s, then you have Diabolos Diver, Julian. Julian is also a very good card that could pretty much give you 2 attacking units if you want. Soul Charge 2 as well, and he could be better. But the differences between these two is that this one gets the shield value, and that sometimes does make it different. But again, you could always play a Julian, a copy, like 2 copies of him in the deck if you want, because you do have space. Then we talk about Aiden before we go to Gino. Aiden is very simple. When he attacks, if the attack hits, you count +1, you retire one of your opponent's regards. The skill could be effective, but it's all about when he restands, he gets an extra crit. So this is normally, these are your 2 attackers, or these are your 2 attackers. He just fill up the field, or he's just an extra shield from your hand. That's basically it. And then we have Gino. So Gino is the new grade 2, well, newer grade 2, which is the one that gives you the ability to attack one more time. So if he's chilling in the front row on the Vanguard Circle, when your Vanguard attacks, if you are in Final Burst, you Soul Blast 2 for every 2 cards in your damage zone. Well, you don't Soul Blast 2 for every 2 cards from your damage zone, but you Soul Blast 2, and then for every 2 cards in your damage zone, you restand one of your Vanguards. And if you restood 2, then you can give them an extra 5k. Then the second ability is in the front row. At the end of your turn, if you are in Final Rush, you put this card into your soul. You choose a normal unit from your soul, and you may put that into your hand. It's really good because he clears a space. He could actually put himself back to your hand, but you could also get a PG or whatever. So that does make it a very strong card. It combines very well with Jamil, because Jamil could call him back by just a counterblast and a soul charge. So if you put him into your soul, you could get this back to your hand, and then you could call it next turn, and then you have pretty much your 2 attackers. Again, just like that, very simple. And then he gives you the soul back, and he doesn't cost anything. So it's all about the extra attack though. If you are on 2 damage, which you normally are, if you hit Final Burst, you could just activate his ability and you could have at least 1 attacker. The interesting thing about his skill, and I think that's a design something, is that you only get the 5k if you restand 2 units, which is, in my opinion, strange. So if you are on 4 damage, you not only benefit from re-standing a booster that could have an ability or just boost your attack, but also benefit from having the 5k. The other thing about Juno is it's one of the few cards, grade 2s, Diabolos, that does not get 5ks or 10ks by itself. Like, he gets extra 5k, he gets 10, he gets 5, and he doesn't get power by himself on the first attack. So that's kind of interesting. And that's why the Persona Ride is so important in this deck. If you're talking ratios, then you want to play 4 Genos. That is definitely the most important grade 2. Next, you want to play also 4 Edens. When it comes to Jamil, you could play 3 or 4. So I've also seen people play 2. And when it comes to Leonard, you want to play 2 or 4. Or 2, 3 or 4. So that's pretty much your ratios that you could play. And again, it's pretty much up to you. This is basically, I think this is the basic, and then you have 2 more spaces left in your deck, which I will show you later what you could put in. So this is the minimum that you want to play. 4 Genos on 3 Jamils, and then 4 Edens on 3 Leonards. The good thing about Leonard is that in the early game he actually becomes very, very effective, especially if you go first. You had them with your VMN Bruce, you still have Final Rush, and that's really, really good. Then we come to the grade 1. When it comes to the grade 1, there is a very interesting choice that you guys could help me with, and that is choosing your PG. Of course, you play the Elementaria, and for now we have only this option. I have the SP one chilling in premium, so we'll have to do with a normal one. But then we have this. You can play this, or you can play her. I love the new art more, but and then of course you have your SP, which is just chilling in my unrivaled Bruce. If you want to see Unrivaled Bruce, I will also do a deck profile for that very soon with the changes that is ready for teams for BSF. We should have Springfest. Yeah, you just play 4 PGs, as in 3 PGs and 1 Elementaria. That's basically it. For the rest, for your grade 1s, you have Stephanie. You have 4 different arts of Stephanie. I'm still waiting for that one from Sparkles, and I am also waiting for the English one with the Darkstale logo on it. That is also coming up soon, but for now I'm playing these 4. This is a card that makes a huge difference in this deck. What she does is very simple. If you are in Final Rush, all of your other units in the same column get an extra 5k. So she basically gives the unit in front of her or behind her an extra 5k. And if you put her behind the Vanguard, she could give your Vanguard a continuous plus 5k, which is also during your opponent's turn. And that is why you could play this card in this deck. But then again, it is only effective in a format where your opponent has no field control whatsoever. So 4 copies of her. And then we have 4 copies of new Derek. It's a card that I like and dislike at the same time. The thing about this card is because you have the ability to restand the whole column, it becomes more effective. But then again, you also lose it at the end of the turn, as it doesn't even go into your soul. It should have gone into your soul, should have drawn you an extra card, should have done something, but it does not. At least a counter charge, but no. So what it does is when you are in Final Rush, this unit gets an ability, which is a continuous ability during the battle that this unit boosted. When your opponent would call cards from their hand to Guardian Circle, they must call 2 or more at the same time. And then it gets a plus 5k till the end of turn. At the end of turn, it retires itself. So it's a good booster, as it is a 13k booster, so it does make good columns. And it just gives you the ability that your opponent would have to guard those attacks with at least 2 cards, which makes it sometimes very awkward for your opponent. Sometimes they just give up units that they don't want, and that's what you want in this deck. We play it at 4 because you want to see him. He's one of just your boosters that you put on the field, and because in this deck you always restand your boosters from the Bruce ability, from Juno ability, so you want this as your booster. If you don't want to play him, you always could put Stephanie on the field. And if you want to put Stephanie or him, you also have Trish. I played just a 1 copy of because it's just an extra booster in there if you need it. But the thing with this card is that it gets an extra 5k power and a 5k shield. It's a 10k shield and it's just like an extra 13k booster. But it stays on the field, doesn't retire itself, which with this it does. And that is the biggest difference, I would say. You could play more Trishes if you want to. You could change the ratios there. And when it comes to your triggers, there are multiple things that you could do. First of all is the over trigger. You have different options. You have Dark State 1, you have Blue OT, you have Red OT. There is no reason to play the Red OT anymore, especially not in this deck because you're restanding your whole field. You have nothing that retires itself during the battle phase or something, so no reason for Red OT anymore. Blue OT could be effective, as in you could give the crits and the 100 million to one of the Regas that restood if they already have PG'd your Vanguard. So yes, Blue OT could be effective in here, but I still chose to put the Dark State OT. The reasons is that this will be effective in any turn that you get it. But if you're playing the deck competitively, I would go for Blue OT. That is my personal opinion. A Blue OT could get your card back from your drop zone, which could be the Persona Ride that you need for next turn because you Soul Blasted it. And Blue OT also could get you another unit like a PG or attacking unit back. But also, as I said, as I explained, the fact that the Blue OT give you the ability to give the crit to whatever unit could be the reason that you killed your opponent there. Because then they will have to have 2 PGs on hand at least. PG your finger attack and then PG the rearguard attack. Also, if you give it to Aiden, which already got a crit by itself, then that would be even more devastating for the opponent to deal with. And that's why Blue OT, in my opinion, in this deck is the most effective. So you're asking why do you have this in the deck instead of the Blue OT? I don't know. Pretty much up to you. As I said, this deck is first draft, and as I said that I do play this deck mostly for fun. And if Unrivaled get very shut down because of the new meta, then maybe I will put more time and effort into this deck. But you will get a new deck profile very soon on this deck as well. So there will be 2 deck profiles. This one is the first draft. Then we got to the other triggers. For the other triggers, there are things that you will want to play in this deck. One of them is, of course, Bazooka Mesh. Bazooka Mesh is the Diabolos crit, because you want to play as much Diaboloses in this deck as you can. So one of the cards is, of course, Natalie, and the other card is Miami. So both of them are Diabolos, and both of them you could put on the field to boost with them, and they could help. The 4k doesn't matter, and the 5k also. They're both the same because you're mostly boosting grade 2s, so 5k or 4k is the same. But the thing is you could not play other cards that you want to boost with if they are not Diabolos. Like for an example, this. Although this goes into your soul, you have no benefits at all because you will not be able to activate your final burst or final rush because you have a non-Diabolos on the field. So these are the cards that you actually want to play as much of as you can. The same goes for the heal. But then again, for the heal is a different story because you also have heals that have skills. But one of the heals that you would never play in this deck is of course this one, because again, you don't benefit from it as you would rather play this, as it has the Diabolos name. So when it comes to the heals, which heals do you want to play? I don't see any deck that gets the extra crit right now that makes a big difference, so there is no reason to play this. The art is beautiful, but we will not play her. Then we have these. This is good because it could always be effective, so you could always play a one copy of. This is also good because it's good in this format because you have some restanding units like a Greedo, like the Dragon Divine skill from the Dragon Empire. And this is good because it's a Diabolos and it's a beautiful 15k. So you could play like 2-1-1, you could play 1-2-1, you could make the ratio up to the way that you want to play the deck. But as I said, I will just show you which options there are. It's pretty much up to you to make it the way you want. Do you want to play draw triggers in this deck? I will advise you to play some. You could play 2. I love 2. And of course, you will be playing this one or the SP version of her. That's pretty much up to you. The thing is that you could not call this to the field because it's not the Diabolos. Now you could also play the Diabolos draw, then you could call it to the field, then it has less shield because this gets the extra 5k shield. But again, that is up to you. You could make it the way you want to, but I would play some draws if I were you. And then we come to those random 2 copies of that you could add to the deck. And for those, we have these 4 beautiful ladies. One of the cards that could be effective in this deck is Megan. She is very, very, very strong. So first attack, she becomes a 20k. With your Persona Red, that's a 30k. With any booster behind her, that's at least a 34k. And then the second wave, she will get 10k because the column gets 5k. And she gets another 10k from her ability. So she becomes a 50-something attacking monster. So yes, she does do a lot of good in this deck. But then again, your most attackers in this deck are Gino and Eden. So is there a space for her to be in there? I didn't feel like there was. Then we have her. She is also very good. This first ability could be, you could play it in this deck, but then again, you only could play it if you play the normal order. And in this deck, you only have your Regalia pieces. So yeah, you would not use that. And then the second ability, you will not lose it because you don't want to Soul Blast 4. So this one you take out anyway. And also that's the same goes for Megan because you pretty much have better cards that you want to attack with. But she could also be a one-off. Then we come to 2 very interesting options. You have your energy cyclers and you have this, which kind of does the same thing. The thing with this card is if you discarded it during the first, second, or third turn, then you still get the benefit of it to draw a card. And she goes back to the bottom of your deck. But it does cost you a Soul Blast. With her, it's different because it doesn't cost you soul, it only costs you energy. And you could use it from the second turn onward. So for your grade 2 ride or for your grade 3 ride, you could draw an early card, which sometimes does make a difference. And the second ability of this you could not use because you could not have anything on the field that is not the Diabolos. So this is not made for the Diabolos' deck because it doesn't work with the grade 4 Bruce, nor it works with this deck. So it's just stupid because it does need a Persona Ride. Then we come to the second ability of her. When this unit is placed on rearguard from hand, if you Persona Ride this turn, which you do a lot, you count +1, you choose a card from your soul and you call it to rearguard. If you call, you may soul charge 1. That is very, very, very good. So she is a counterblast and a soul charge to call something from your soul. which is again the same ability as Jamil, because Jamil also count +1 soul charge when I call something from your soul. But then again, you have to call something to replace her on top of her, because you don't want her on the field because she's not a Diabolos. So I would not play this card in this deck. There is no reason, you don't really get that much benefit out of it. Then we come to this card. This card is effective. You could always play it. You could play it at 1, you could play it at 2. There is no downside of playing this card at all. If you guard with it, you could still use the energies to draw. This deck does not deck out that easy. So you could just play 2 copies of this and you will be good. So that is my opinion if you want to change this deck around, or the cards that you want to put into the deck, then I would definitely play this card. Alright, and that is pretty much it for this deck. For the trigger ratio, it's up to you to play 4 or 3 fronts. I do find the fronts effective in this deck, so I would play more. I played at 4. I play 4 crits, Diabolos crits, and 4 Diabolos fronts, and then added 2 of the heals, and then add random crits in there, and then you're good to go. But then again, you could change it to the way you want. Pretty much up to you. And that's kind of it for this deck profile. Hope that you guys enjoyed it. And as I said, it does give you like the general idea on how the deck is built. And then from that on, you could pretty much build it the way that you want to and to your likings. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in our channel. Let us know in the comment section below if you have played this deck or you want to try it out. And we'll see you in the next video. So till next time.